What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dreamstead. Today we are keeping the dream alive, making a wire rack shelf system into a microgreen grow rack. Alrighty, first off, all the things that we are going to need for this project. A surge protector power strip. This one has 7 plugs. We will be using 6. And in addition, it has some USB 3 amp plugs as well, so we can power our fans straight from that power strip. We have some inline switches. We're going to be controlling each shelf's lights individually, so we want to be able to turn them on and off, because at times we're not going to have all of these racks filled. We have some heat shrink, we have some wire, we have some cooling fans. This will keep air moving on our shelves. And then we have 4-foot fluorescent lights. There will be 2 of these per shelf, so we'll get a nice even flood of light going down there. Another thing that I forgot to mention that you'll need is zip ties. So I have a variety of sizes for mounting all of these wires onto the rack, keeping it clean and neat. So the first thing that I'm going to do is mount this power strip onto the side of this shelf. The wire will then run right down this vertical tube here to our power outlet that's right down there, and I think this will give us a nice clean spot to put this that won't be in the way too much, hopefully. A couple of zip ties, and she's mounted on there nice and secure. I will zip tie down this back side, but I do think there's going to be some wiring that's going to potentially be running down there, so I'm not going to zip tie any of the verticals until I am done with the whole thing. So here's what I've got. These 4-foot long fluorescent lights are grow lights. We're repurposing them. They were in a greenhouse before, but we don't need them there anymore. So these were set up with pigtails with plugs on the end. Now, like I said, I'm going to have 2 per shelf. So I'm going to leave the pigtail on one of them to be able to plug in, and then I'm going to splice this wire and use this inline switch to power up the first light, and then I'm just going to daisy chain the next light onto it. Let me crack this open and show you how this thing works. There's just 2 screws in the back. You pull these out and it opens up like so. I'm going to be careful not to lose these screws. So essentially you have the face plate that does, these ones have a little indicator light that isn't really going to matter, because when the switch is on, the lights will be on. And then there is this piece here. So you can see that there are 2 screws on the top, 1, 2, and 2 screws on the bottom. Power comes in here, so you have a hot and a neutral on this side. The neutral just passes straight through, and then when you flip this switch, it connects your hot side. And so then your hot and your neutral here go out to your device. And there's just little screws that you cinch down on those wires to create that connection, and then the switch will work for you. And then you just reinstall this guy on here, put the screws back in, and you're in business. I'm going to mount these right up on the front of these shelves. So the switch will be on the shelf right next to the lights that it controls. I think that'll be the easiest. Okay, coming to you again from between the shelves. In order to daisy chain these together, I'll have to take these apart, which is pretty simple actually. Just a screw on each end. Pull that guy out. And pull that guy out. And then this entire piece, this kind of cover piece, just comes right off. And it reveals the wiring underneath. So to connect these together, all I need to do is connect the ground, the hot, and the neutral to the next one in the line. So I'm just going to be cutting this wire here, slipping it in, and then wire nutting these couple of wires together. I'm just going to position these about as far away as I can from each other, get enough wire to get to the port and come in plenty and slice it off. So the nice thing about this is I only have to take apart one out of every set that I'm doing. So that makes life a little bit easier. And then on these pigtails, so they're 3-wire pigtails, they have a hot, a neutral, and a ground. And the neutral is ribbed, so I know which one is which. Makes it plenty easy. There we go. These little guys are a pain in the ass, but got that one out of there. There we go. So now I've got my 3 wires stripped back. I got a dog barking. Give them a little pre-twist. Stick my wire nut on here. Okay, one down. Now these connections can be a little bit tricky because the pigtail wires here for that go out to the plugs that I'm using to power them are braided wire, and then the unit itself is solid core, so they can be a little bit funky, but you know, it's all right. They still work. Now just to plug this in. Alright, I've just plugged it in, just basically testing my wiring to make sure that we are all good in here. So obviously this one's not lit up because it doesn't have bulbs in it right at this moment, but we'll get there. Okay, now to put this cover back on, tuck all my wires away. Reattach my 2 screws. So difficult. And then we reinstall the bulbs. Obviously, if you're not comfortable doing this, you know, don't do it by yourself. You know, go find somebody to help you out. But if you are interested in doing this, I'll include links in the description here of all of the equipment that I'm using, all the things. Now I'm just going to plug it in again, double check that both the lights are functioning appropriately. On to next step. Alright, so here's what we got so far. Power strip mounted. These 2 lights here are wired up together. It was nice having this little extra length because I hung lights one at a time. Didn't have to completely support them. And they're just zip tied underneath. We'll add some tie wire just so that it's a little bit more sturdy and secure for a permanent mounting. But for now, they're just hanging there. So now we're going to add this inline switch. It's going to go probably right about here is what I'm thinking. And so we just need to cut a pigtail long enough to reach over to our power strip over here and make sure that these wires can get there. I'll show you how that works. Alright, a little bit difficult to show you what's going on over here while I'm actually doing it, since it's just me in here. But maybe as I do these, I've got 5 more to do, or 4 more to do, so I hopefully will be able to get you video on one of these. But so this side here is the line side that comes from our power strip, comes underneath and pops through this hole here, so that this guy can get mounted up like that once it's completely done, and then I can tie that excess up. And then this is our load side. It comes out into the first light and then daisies into the next one. And so flip the switch and the lights on the shelf that the switch is on turn on. So I figure that's the easiest way to do it. Anyway, things are coming along. Okay, we've made quite a bit of progress here. Skipped over some things, I know, but just kind of got into it and forgot to pick up the camera. So we have all of our lights hung, wired, and wired into the board, and we are attaching our fans. We have this top fan facing up so that it can hopefully draft some hot air, just pull hot air up, and then we have fans mounted on every rung. Still have two fans to mount on these 2 bottom shelves, and then we are doing some cord management here. So I have the controllers for the fans are actually going to be back here. Had to rethink the way that I'm wiring the fans, because when you wire them up and attach more than just one set to this 3.4 amp USB charging port, just doesn't quite give enough power as it does when you plug in this block to the wall. So I'm going to have that mounted in on its own plug. The other thing with that is that if I had it wired in here, the plan is to have all of the lights on timers. Instead of having an individual timer on each light bus, we can just have this entire brick plugged into a timer. But I want the fans to continue running when the timer is off, so they need to be plugged in separately. So it's just something that I thought about as we are going. So I still have 2 more fans to install down here on the bottom ones, and yeah, things are coming along. I'm going to show you real quick how I mounted up the fans. So these fans have these rubber feet that help with vibration noises and whatnot if they're just set on something. But I just removed the screws that are inside of those, and then ran some zip ties through the front and the back so that I could control the whole position. And they're very sturdy. They definitely are way more sturdy than I thought that they would be, just hanging onto them with the zip ties. Okay, here it is, microgreen rack all finished up. Hard to see most anything other than what's on the rack because the lights are so bright. But we have switches for each shelf individually. The bottom one is around this side here. This cord wasn't quite long enough to reach, and I didn't want to extend it. And then our fan controls are over here on the sides, and they are running right now. You can barely hear them. They're on high, and you can barely hear them. So here's the trays that we'll be using. So we have some with holes and some without, and they stack into each other really nicely, and they fit on these shelves perfect. Nice even lighting. Right now I have the fans just plugged in to the power strip here, but they will be plugged in to their own plug, so that when the whole thing's on the timer, everything will be able to shut off all at once, but the fans will continue to run, as opposed to right now the fans shut off. Just to show you here, so this rack is 4 feet wide, so we can fit 4 of these microgreen racks within it, and we have 5 shelves with lights, so that's a total of 20 trays under the lights. And we have storage space up top for more trays or for plants that are germinating, weighted, or hooded. And then, you know, we can also utilize this space by just shutting the lights down. But yeah, 20 microgreen trays full of growing greens will be here shortly. Stay tuned. All right, well, there you have it, a down and dirty tutorial on how we built this microgreen rack in our storage room, and we are super stoked to get started on it. Follow along to continue with us here on this journey here at the Dreamstead. If you're into projects like this, we do these projects every day here on the Dreamstead, and we post videos up regularly, so consider subscribing, follow along, and until next time, take care of yourselves, everybody. Make it a great day. Peace out.